boarding school for Indigenous children. This comes less than a month after the remains of 215 children were found in a mass grave near another school. The 751 graves were uncovered in a town in Western Canada in the Saskatchewan province. The discoveries have cast a spotlight on a dark chapter in Canada's history in which Native children were forcibly assimilated into the country's dominant culture. An inquiry concluded that the abuse amounted to cultural genocide.
We started our radar penetrating research on June the 2nd of 2021. As of yesterday, we have hit 751 unmarked graves. This is not a mass grave site. These are unmarked graves.
He said in part, "We cannot bring children back, but we will honor their memory and we will tell the truth about these injustices." And we're joined now by Lauren McQuillan, a journalist in Toronto. Laura, thanks for being with us. I know this discovery happened not that long ago, and we're slowly learning new details. Have there been any new developments?
Well, Marty, this news just coming out earlier today of these 751 unmarked graves. A little bit of the detail we heard there is that they're not sure whether these were students, children who went to the residential school there, or if they may be adults as well. This is a site near the school, and it is near a cemetery as well. And there was an indication today from the First Nation, which we just heard from, that the Catholic Church, which ran the school from the 1880s right up until the 1960s, may have removed some of the headstones from the graves. So these are unidentified remains at this point in time. What they're hoping to do is be able to identify who these remains belong to, whether they were children, adults, students at those schools, at the school rather, who never made it home, and then work with their family or their communities to go about memorializing them, potentially repatriating those remains. But that will be a ways off yet. Something else that we heard from the First Nation when they spoke earlier today is they expect there could be more remains than the 751. That's just what this ground penetrating radar search has hit on at this point in time. And they warned as well, they expect that this could be something that we see replicated across the country, as we have seen that find in British Columbia recently as well.
Well, so as we mentioned, this follows a similar discovery in British Columbia less than a month ago. What are the chances that more of these sites might turn up?
That work is underway right across the country at the moment, and we have Indigenous groups trying to get grants, get funding to do searches like this of their own area, of former residential school sites, to find out, were children who died at these schools buried without any kind of marking on their grave? Were there records of their deaths? And piece all of those pieces of the puzzle together. So we've seen this in Kamloops, British Columbia. We've now seen it in Saskatchewan. And there is this warning that it could be hundreds, if not thousands more of these unmarked graves, of burial sites. We heard that it's not a mass grave, but there are fears in other parts of the country there could be something resembling that, more than just a cemetery, somewhere where bodies were just put in the ground and their families, their friends may never have learned their whereabouts to date. So finding out who is where, what has gone on over decades and decades of these residential schools is really key. There's a lot of pressure on the federal government as well. You heard that message from Prime Minister Trudeau. Pressure on the federal government to do more to work with Indigenous communities on this work, and to do more to help those survivors of residential schools, as they're known as well, Marty.